As humans, we are creatures of habit, and there's a very good reason for that. And the reason is because it's very resource efficient. If every decision that you made needed 100% of your effort or brain power, whatever you would say, you simply would be too exhausted to live at all. So we have this system in our minds where we do the things that are the most rewarding for the least amount of effort. And it worked very well and very practically in the Stone Ages, but in this modern day and age, when everything is so frictionless, like it's so easy, everything is so easy. Like literally one of the main essential things that needs to be done of getting food and all that shit is literally in a fucking store where you can just walk there or drive there, and it's ridiculously easy. Fucking consuming content and amusing yourself, it's so simple, so easy, and all that friction. I think friction build people. It build the character, and when you don't get that friction in life, you lose the parts that are fulfilling, or the things that might give you, like, it might compromise your spiritual needs. And I do know, like, I don't mean necessarily that you need to be religious or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the spiritual needs of feeling like fulfilled, feeling you have a purpose of some sort, and all that. Because in this modern day and age, I feel like a lot of people have a mental health problem, and it's because of how frictionless everything is. And when you see the differences of a life where there's no friction and you go life fully on autopilot, that's a life where you feel like it's so dry, it's so purposeless, and it doesn't feel fulfilling for a person to live like that. And that's why implementing more friction to your life and implementing more like struggles to make you better as a person is so important, and in the end will make you more happy, I believe. And when you contrast those differences of a life where you actually make harder decisions, you put a little more grit and more effort, the difference there is just drastic, in my opinion. And that's why you should choose the path of challenging yourself, thinking more critically of decisions that you want to make and change and whatever it is. And there's tactics that I've not necessarily come up with. I've just researched, and this is what I've seen are the qualities that are good for individuals to have to be able to develop and improve. And the first one is become a planner of goals. And what I mean by that is every week you should have a time and a moment where you're like applying it. It doesn't need to be specific, but it just needs to be a moment where you can actually think and plan about the future that you want and things you want to develop, and practical steps of what you can take to get there. So for instance, if you want to be more healthy, you need to come up with steps of, well, I'm going to start walking a little more, well, I'm going to start eating a little healthier, well, I'm going to start getting better quality sleep. Stuff like that is like a practical step you need to implement. And I feel like as people, it's very hard for us to push for something when there's no higher goal. So you always need to have like that bigger goal of, what is the next thing I can do to truly change things up for me? And I guess one more thing you can do is come up with a formula where you can produce more better ideas. So what I mean by that, it's like there are a lot of ideas we have, but it might not necessarily be good. So come up with a formula where you can produce ideas that have a high likelihood of like coming up with a good solution that could work. That's what I would say you should try probably to do. The second tip I would give is have fun, but take life seriously. And what I mean by that is like when you're young in your 20s, there aren't a lot of responsibilities that you have. And a lot of people, when they think they don't have a lot of responsibilities, then they say, well, I can chill, I can have fun, I can party, I can do whatever I want. But that's exactly the moments where you should like lock in. When you're 20s, I think that's the perfect time to lock in, because if you lock in now, your life is set. If you truly lock in your 20s, your 30s and anything after that is going to be blessed. It's going to be blessed for your family. It's going to be blessed for the people that are around you. And I think generally speaking, you're going to be more well-rounded and better as a person when you has persevered and tried hard at a young age. So lock in young and reap the rewards in your 30s. Post editing me, I forgot to give the third point, but basically what it is, be very grateful for everything that you have, especially if you live in a first world country or the Western world. You're so unbelievably blessed, you can't even believe it. And the reason why you ain't working, you ain't putting the work, is because you don't understand how many opportunities that you have in the position that you are in. You are at least when it comes to luck of location where you're born, it's like top 10%. So try as much as possible to deserve the luck that you're given in life, is what I would say. Become a lover of risk, but with a one condition, and that is it needs to be a calculated risk. And what I mean by calculated risk is you need to do a mental calculation where you guess what are the positives and what are the negatives. And if the positive outweighs the negatives, then the risk is probably a good idea. But if it isn't, then you should not do it. Like one calculated risk that you can take is, for instance, traveling to another country to get more opportunities. You know, for instance, if you live in a country that is where there aren't a lot of opportunities, it's very stagnant, it might not be the worst idea to travel to a country where there's more opportunities, like maybe America, some country. One more is like taking a risk when you're young. I know that sounds like it's so broad, but think about it. When you're young, when you're in your 20s, you have literally nothing. Like you haven't invested little to nothing into like your life. You don't have a car, you don't have a family that you've made of your own, you don't have a house. I mean, you might have a car, but it is nothing really expensive like that. So, you know, you don't have anything to really to lose. What I'm trying to say. And if you want to get anywhere in life, I think you do need to take a risk. You just need to be rational, is what I would say. The fifth one is make habits work for you and not the other way around. And the reason why I say this is because it's so often with people and me, everyone, there's so many habits that we have that are so self-destructive to the future that we want, to the person that we want to be, and all those things. And it's so important to be cognizant and aware what those are and try to replace them with something that is healthier. So if you're, for instance, eat a lot of junk food, you're trying to replace eating a lot of junk food, eating a little more healthy. For instance, you maybe have a unhealthy consumption of social media, try to replace with something more healthy. Perhaps you go party a lot, perhaps erase that out fully, and if you must drink, then you can try to drink at least like once a month or something like that. I don't know. Those are like things to think about. And oh yeah, when it comes to habits, make habits work for you. And that is because when you've worked to implement all these good habits, it's not going to make the work for you automatically, but it's going to certainly make it more easy when you've gone into like made it a habit. And that's what I mean with kind of habit is working for you. These are the advice that I'm trying to implement and integrate fully and try to be more active and more critical when I think and plan about the future, because it's so often like you live life on autopilot and you ain't thinking about anything and you're just going with the flow. It's, you know, everything chill, but it's really important to just think critically about what you want and about the future and all that. That's what I would say. Hopefully you had a great day, and bye.